Hi. Welcome to the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society's 2020 awards ceremony. Normally we would have presented our awards in person at our annual chapter meeting. But as with so many things this past year, this year's ceremony is different. And so we present our annual awards through this virtual gala event. I am Steve Windels, current chair of the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society's Awards Committee. And I will now be your digital host to guide you through this celebration of our annual award winners. 2020 was a challenging year for so many of us in so many unprecedented ways. Remember back in February 2020 when we all got together and breathed a small sigh of relief that 2019 was behind us? Ah, to be so young and carefree again. But we persevered and we made it through somehow. And now here we sit at the start of a new phase in American life. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge the other members of the awards committee: Wayne Brininger, Kyle Daly, Ross Heyer, Greg Knutson, Martha Minchak, Tom Soul, and Sarah Vasic. Thank you to all of you for your service this year. Also, quick thanks to all of the nominators of this year's awards. We appreciate the time and effort you took to acknowledge your peers and colleagues for their accomplishments. Every so often, the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society must amend their bylaws, and we thought this would be a good time to appraise you of some of the recent changes. They include, this is the first one, J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf, Frodo, and other assorted characters from the novels and movies can only be mentioned at annual awards banquets in even years. Sorry, but you'll have to wait till 2022 for more quotes from Bilbo Baggins. Number 2, our official slogan was formally changed in 2020 after input from a marketing consultant on how the chapter can better connect with the younger demographic. We are no longer using the slogan, Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society, enhancing Minnesota's wildlife resources through professional stewardship. We are now going to say, Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society, keeping Minnesota's wildlife scissor fresh. They told me I should also let you know the new bumper stickers are going to be lit. Number 3, among the lesser known changes to our bylaws, this year was a waiver of the minimum height requirement for executive board positions, for which our own chapter president Brian Hiller was the first beneficiary. Way to be a pioneer, Brian. I'd say keep reaching for the stars to you, but that would just seem like I'm piling on at this point. We now want to pause briefly for our new In Memoriam segment, where we honor those who have passed this past year. The Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society relies on volunteers to conduct chapter business for you. Every year we acknowledge the dedication of our chapter volunteers with our Service to Chapter Awards. Today we honor 4 individuals and organizations with the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society's annual awards in recognition of their excellence and contributions towards sustaining and enhancing Minnesota's wildlife resources. Each award will be presented by the person who nominated them for the award. First up is the Student Conservationist Award, which is presented to a wildlife major at a Minnesota college or university who has shown a commitment to wildlife, has high scholastic achievement, and shows promise as a future wildlife professional. It was first presented in 1992. Here to present the award is Joseph Bump and Bill Seaverud.
Hello, my name is Joseph Bump, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Minnesota in Fisheries, Wildlife, and Conservation Biology. It was my pleasure to nominate Ellen Candler for the Student Conservation Award. Congratulations, Ellen. It was very easy to nominate you without reservation and with a lot of enthusiasm. Just to highlight for you, viewers, some of Ellen's accomplishments. She was awarded a prestigious NSF Graduate Research and Training Fellowship. In addition, she was awarded an NSF Graduate Internship, a GRIP. Those accomplishments demonstrate Ellen's ability to develop her ideas, ability to develop novel ideas, and they were deemed worthy by very scrutinizing and experienced scholars in her field. Ellen is already publishing chapters of her dissertation and well on her way to making unique contributions to the field. Her genuine interest in broader impacts have resulted in the development of a significant citizen science program or project, the Awful Wildlife Watching Project, that we've co-developed. She has involved over 200 hunters already in collecting data and partnered with the Minnesota Master Naturalist Program in doing so. Ellen's research is yielding both basic insights and critical information that can be applied to wildlife management, not only regionally, but nationally, wherever species are baited or interact with human-provided food subsidies. So Ellen is documenting non-target species use, community species use at those anthropogenic inputs into food webs. And it addresses a gap of understanding how those inputs are being used and will allow wildlife managers to assess the full implications. Some of those implications have already yielded changes in hunter surveys in the state of Michigan, and I expect other states will follow suit in adding additional questions to their surveys that try to generate additional citizen science data from hunters in terms of how they use bait and who is visiting their bait sites in terms of species that are non-target. Of course, Ellen has presented her work at national and international meetings when we could do that. And she's also, outside of her research, taken leadership roles in both the Wildlife Society when she was an undergraduate, but more recently as a board member of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, both of which, TWS and BHA, are leading professional and stakeholder groups in our field. And those experiences and her participation and accomplishments just demonstrate outstanding potential to communicate effectively and to develop as an expert in the field. Additionally, most recently, Ellen was invited to serve on the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources Wolf Plan Advisory Committee as a representative for BHA, and that's a huge recognition of her expertise and potential. So just concluding, Ellen has outstanding accomplishments to date, superb communication, great field skills, a lot of demonstrated leadership, and compared to her peers, she is exceedingly dedicated and has a notable sustained volunteer record. It was my pleasure again to co-recommend Ellen along with Dr. Bill Seaverud. Congratulations, Ellen, and a special shout out to Dr. Steve Windells for his leadership in the TWS Awards program and all the panel reviewers. Thank you.
Hello, it was my pleasure to co-nominate Ellen Candler for the Student Conservationist Award. I have known Ellen since 2017 when she arrived at the University of Minnesota as a PhD student. She was a second-year graduate student and I was a first-time postdoc. We were both housed in the Bump Lab of the University of Minnesota's Fisheries, Wildlife, and Conservation Biology Department. She brought along with her the typical characteristics that wildlife students have, like a plethora of fieldwork in cool locations and a great scientific skill set, but she also possessed a calm presence that centered the lab. She quickly situated herself as a fixture in the graduate program and beyond. As Vice Chair of Operations for the Minnesota chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, she demonstrates her passion for service. Additionally, she and I have worked on issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion within the Minnesota chapter of TWS. Ellen is also reaching out to the hunting community and other citizen scientists in her work while developing her Awful Wildlife Watching project. She really understands that to manage wildlife, you must understand your stakeholders and partners. She works with UMN Extension, gives radio interviews, and conducts other outreach to get people engaged with wildlife issues. Congratulations, Ellen. You are truly a deserving recipient.
I'm very honored to receive the Student Conservationist Award from the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society. I want to thank especially my advisor, Dr. Joseph Bump, and Dr. William Severud for the nomination, as well as the rest of the awards committee. This award is given to students that show promise as future wildlife professionals. So I'm really honored to be considered somebody that shows that promise and to be included with the other group of students that have received this award in the past. I'm encouraged by the leaders of this chapter, as well as past recipients within the chapter, that the wildlife profession is not only encouraging sound research and research-based management, but also recognizes the value of diversity of all kinds to the growth of the profession. As I continue my career, I hope to follow these examples as to what makes a well-rounded wildlife professional. I still feel relatively new to Minnesota, even though I've been here about 4 years now. But the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society has been very welcoming and has made participation in research, collaboration, and other issues related to the wildlife profession accessible and easy to get involved with. I'm particularly proud that the chapter values issues related to mental health and diversity within the wildlife profession, and have been happy to participate in the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. I look forward to continuing to grow in this profession and to expand my research interests and collaborations here in Minnesota and after wherever it leads me. So thank you again for this honor.
Next, we have the Conservation Award, which is presented to an organization or institution that has shown an outstanding commitment to Minnesota's resources. It was first presented in 1986. Here to present the 2020 award is Brian Harmon.
Hi, I'm Brian Harmon. I'm the head of resource management at Voyageurs National Park, and it is my great pleasure today to help celebrate the Voyageurs Conservancy as they received the 2020 Conservation Award from the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society. You know, the Conservancy has a very special place in our heart here at the park, because without the Conservancy, we wouldn't be here. The Conservancy was formed in 1965 because passionate, far-seeing people recognized the need for a national park here to preserve the land and water around Rainy Lake, Namakan Lake, Kabetogama Lake, Sandpoint Lake. And it was the energy and enthusiasm and hard work of these people, the Conservancy, that was essential in creating the park. And now, today, the park's 218,000 acres provide protected and undeveloped habitats for over 300 species of native wildlife. Of course, the Conservancy just didn't stop there. They kept going. They have continually monitored and advocated against threats that are outside the park, that threaten the park's lands, waters, wildlife. Through their legacy fund, they've added over 73 acres of land to the park. And in 2019, the Conservancy became the park's official Friends group, so that cementing even more tightly their mission to protect and preserve this very, very special and wonderful place. I could give a lot more examples of their work, but one I really want to touch on today is their support through financial support and advocacy of our wetland restoration project. Within the park, invasive hybrid cattails have turned approximately 500 acres of diverse wetlands into cattail monocrops. By restoring these wetlands to their diverse natural state, we will provide excellent habitat for native fishes, native marsh birds, and other wildlife. To date, with the Conservancy's help, we've treated approximately 55 acres of these cattails, and with their continuing support, we're doing more this year and we'll do more in future years as well. But this isn't just limited to the park. What we learn here, what we in the Conservancy learn here, will help other agencies in Minnesota as they make decisions about how to treat cattails in areas under their management and protection. And lastly, I'd like to close with a personal note. On my very second day on the job here at Voyagers, I attended a board meeting of the Voyagers Conservancy, and I was totally blown away by the passion, the thoughtfulness, the energy of all the board members. And I thought, hey, if I'm working with these people, I'm in the right place. So it gives me a great deal of pleasure, both professionally and personally, to present to our great friends, our great partners, the Voyagers Conservancy, the 2020 Conservation Award. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matt Mueller. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Voyagers Conservancy. Today I'm speaking on behalf of the entire board, the staff, and all the supporters of the Conservancy. It was a great honor for all of us to hear that our organization was to be the recipient of the 2020 Conservation Award from the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society. I want to extend our thanks to Brian Harmon of Voyagers National Park for his gracious nomination. It was kind of Brian to recognize the Conservancy and his work. As he shared in his nomination form, Voyagers Conservancy has been the official friends group of Voyagers National Park since 2019. But our friendship goes back many years. It actually predates and is a good part responsible for the creation of the park. But it's been our organization's charter to do more than just help get the park started. Our goals continue to be to both responsibly promote and protect Voyagers National Park. In the last year or two, this entailed many things like helping to develop the Makuta hiking trail, monitoring and advocating against outside threats to the park's waters, lands, night skies, and wildlife, and providing seed funding to help launch a multi-year initiative to test, evaluate, and implement ways to remove invasive species like cattails. We're also very excited about our future work, though, to further expand our commitment to the park's natural resources by working with the National Park Service to launch the Voyagers Field Fellow Program, which gives young conservationists career experience. We aren't alone in our efforts and would not accomplish nearly as much as we could without the collaboration of the National Park Service and Voyagers National Park itself, including its superintendent, Bob DeGrosse, and the other amazing staff there, like Brian Harmon, who's their Chief of Cultural and Natural Resources at Voyagers. Further thanks are also due to our many friends and our wildlife and conservancy partners. So it's with much appreciation that we receive this award. Many thanks to the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society and its awards committee chairman, Steve Windels. It's truly an honor for us to receive this award. Thank you so much.
Next up is the Dr. Janipo Memorial Award, which recognizes a professional woman or an outstanding female graduate or undergraduate student who exemplifies the consummate natural resource scientist. It was first presented in 2008. Here to present the 2020 award is Jody Provost.
Hello, I'm Jody Provost, and it is my sincere honor to present respected research scientist and colleague Charlotte Roy with the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society's 2020 Janipo Memorial Award. This award recognizes a professional woman or outstanding female graduate or undergraduate student who exemplifies the consummate natural resource scientist. This award was first presented in 2009. Charlotte is a multifaceted woman that embraces life and stewardship of our natural resources, whether in the field on a research project, presenting at a professional meeting, volunteering, competing in a triathlon, adventuring around the world, or choosing her next meal. She cares deeply and is on her game. Nominators of Charlotte for the Janipo Award describe her as meticulous, attentive, timely, relevant, respected, dedicated, exceptionally passionate, hardworking, a phenomenal mentor, open-minded, honest, committed, positive, highly motivated, well-organized, possessing scientific integrity, highly knowledgeable, driven, a good teacher, selflessness, highly involved, inquisitive, and an excellent communicator, innovator, and collaborator. Whew! Charlotte received her Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, graduating magna cum laude at State University of New York, getting her Master of Science in Zoology from Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, and her PhD in Biology from University of Missouri, St. Louis. Since 2007, she has served as a research scientist with Minnesota DNR, first in the Wetland Wildlife Populations and Research Group, and currently in the Forest Wildlife Populations and Research Group. She has been involved in nearly 40 peer-reviewed publications and over 20 reports, and given more presentations than you can shake a stick at. I lost track counting. Her volunteer service has ranged from serving as Minnesota TWS Treasurer, journal reviewer for 18 journals, several newsletters, serving on numerous committees for the Minnesota DNR Game Forest Team, Bird Team, to the Global Climate Change Working Group, and judging student papers and posters at conferences, to teaching school kids how to check and maintain wood duck boxes. Charlotte's research and accomplishments have focused on applied population-level questions and community and ecosystem-level questions. It has included a wide breadth of species such as wood ducks, ringneck ducks, lesser scaup, mourning doves, northern bobwhite, peregrine falcons, swamp rabbits, raccoons, snails, and trematodes. Her current research focus addresses information needs for Minnesota's grouse species. Projects have included landscape genetics of greater prairie chickens and sharp-tailed grouse, development of survey methods for spruce grouse, West Nile virus prevalence in rough grouse, neonicotinoid treated seed availability for wildlife, greater prairie chicken population responses to the Conservation Reserve Program, sharp-tailed grouse responses to prescribed burning and mowing during the fall, and vegetation and bird responses to prescribed burning in spring, summer, and fall. Her research is relevant, and she's brave and caring in addressing what can be touching issues, such as neonicotinoid use in agriculture and its impact to wildlife, and in communicating with agricultural industry and farmers. Statements from Charlotte's nominators include nuggets such as, she spent countless hours attempting to single-handedly hold her important spruce grouse research project together this last year as she worked through the challenges of COVID and restrictions, hiring freezes, and other setbacks, and she remained positive through it all. Blood, sweat, and tears have all been shed by this highly motivated researcher in the woods this last year, and I look up to her commitment. It never ceases to amaze me how she makes meaningful observations and conclusions and works so hard to get the data she needs. The challenges don't discourage her. In fact, they fuel her. The first thing that comes to mind with Charlotte is scientific integrity. She will not compromise anything in the research with which she is involved. It has to be scientifically sound or it's not happening. Charlotte is inquisitive and so willing to seek answers to questions that will help in managing Minnesota's wildlife. This is no small thing to Minnesota wildlife managers. She is a phenomenal mentor to the next generation of wildlife professionals. In my research group in Texas, I have numerous graduate students that are interested in working for a state wildlife agency. I routinely put them in contact with Charlotte. There is so much more to share. However, instructions were to keep the celebratory message under 2 pages. So, in parting, suffice it to say that Charlotte is crazy deserving of this recognition. As she continues to progress in her career, she will no doubt continue as a scientific force with which to be reckoned and a shining star in the wildlife profession. Congratulations, Charlotte, and thank you very much for all you do.
Hello. I am deeply honored to receive the Dr. Janipo Memorial Award. Janet was an amazing wildlife professional, as are all the former recipients of this award, and to be included among them is both humbling and exciting. To receive this award after such an exceptionally difficult year provides a much-needed lift against the gravity of events and ongoing circumstances. The pandemic presented challenges to our work, including teleworking and restrictions on field activities, many of which ground us as scientists, biologists, naturalists, and nature lovers, and provide us with a sense of purpose. We face stay-at-home orders, hiring freezes, and staffing shortages. We watch the work we care about not get done, the progress we'd made slip away, and face the knowledge that these gains would not be easily regained in months or years. We also face social isolation and not being able to come together in the field, office, and in-person meetings where we gather inspiration from each other to continue working to conserve natural resources through sustainable and disciplined use so that future generations may enjoy what we enjoy. We faced a loss of trust in our leaders both nationally and locally. We were reminded daily of social injustices. We struggled to understand the choices and values of our neighbors and family members whom we love despite strong political and ethical divides. We faced amazing uncertainty, last-minute decision-making, frantic timelines, and extreme anxiety. The year was difficult for us all, and for some more than others. Yet through all the challenges, I have never felt more a part of a wildlife family. When I felt overwhelmed and discouraged, my wildlife family was there to support, help, and listen. People stepped up to do extra work when I and others could not get all the work done. When DNR staff could not do grouse surveys during the stay-at-home order, biologists with 1854 Treaty Authority, Superior National Forest, and the Minnesota Prairie Chicken Society stepped up to do extra surveys. When we could not fill vacancies, Gretchen Mamel, Charlie Tucker, Scott Laudenslager, Derek Klostermeyer, Bailey Peterson, and Jessica Parson helped with research. My husband supported my working long hours, waking him up at 3 a.m. for months on end, using our personal vehicles for field work, and constant interruptions from phone calls as the boundaries between work time and personal time blurred. This kind of support from my wildlife family and at home empowers and inspires me. We have a source of strength in our natural resources and in each other that will endure any pandemic, political or social upheaval, or personal crisis. Thank you for your support and for this amazing award. You inspire me.
We finish with the Minnesota Award, our chapter's highest honor, which is presented to an individual who has made outstanding contributions to Minnesota's wildlife and natural resources. It was first presented in 1958. Here to present the 2020 award is last year's winner, Jody Provost.
Hello, it is my incredible honor to present our dear colleague and remarkable fellow wildlife biologist, John Moriarty, with the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society's 2020 Minnesota Award. This award is our chapter's highest award and has been presented since 1958 to an individual who has made outstanding contributions to Minnesota's wildlife and natural resources. Nominators of John for this award describe him as committed, consistent, unwavering, generous, inspiring, an advocate, leader, mentor, professional, highly respected, an embracer of lifelong learning, selfless, passionate, a big thinker, a major driving force, having a sense of purpose, and even a poet. He is forever curious about the natural world. The list of accomplishments by John and his career is long. He has been described by one colleague as a wildlife manager, restorationist, scientist, ecologist, author, citizen scientist, outreach and engagement specialist, and youth leader. His career began with his Bachelor of Science from the University of Connecticut in Natural Resource Conservation and his Master of Science from the University of Kentucky in Forest Wildlife Ecology. His nearly 40 years in the wildlife profession is focused on management of wildlife resources and parks and connecting the public to those resources, beginning with the suburban Hennepin Regional Park District, then the Ramsey County Parks and Recreational Department, and currently the Three Rivers Park District in the West Metro region as their senior manager for wildlife the past 8 years, where he's overseen 23,000 acres. His diverse park duties have ranged from rounding up geese, coordinating a bull snake reintroduction, controlling invasive species, coordinating deer management, improving their prescribed burn program, securing nearly $4 million in grants for wildlife survey and reintroduction, and habitat restoration, enhancement, and protection of thousands of acres, to supervising several full-time employees, part-time employees, crews, and volunteers. In addition to being a devout field biologist, he excels at sharing his knowledge to engage others, an especially useful and critical skill in an urban environment. He served for 5 years as a community faculty member at Metropolitan State University, where he taught Minnesota natural history, and 5 years with the Minnesota Frog Watch as a scientific advisor. He has over 100 publications on natural resource topics, including 5 books, written alone or in collaboration with others, including Amphibians and Reptiles of Minnesota, a field guide to the natural world of the Twin Cities, a guide to birding in Ramsey County, conventional management of buckthorn species, turtles and turtle watching in the north central states, and Minnesota's natural heritage, which recently had a 2nd edition published. John has served or still serves on 9 multi-agency committees, from the Metro Conservation Network and Big Rivers Partnership to the DNR Commissioner's Advisory Committee for Ecological Resources, which he chairs, and the DNR Herpetological Legislation Committee. He is actively involved in a dozen professional organizations holding office in several. These include the Wildlife Society, Society of the Study of Amphibians and Reptiles, Herpetologist League, the Beau Museum of Natural History, the Nature Conservancy Minnesota chapter, the Nature Areas Association, the International Society of the History and Bibliography of Herpetology, Midwest Partners in Amphibian and Reptile Conservation, Minnesota Herpetological Society, Minnesota Native Plant Society, Minnesota Ornithologists Union, and Isaac Walton League, the Breckenridge chapter. He has volunteered for Boy Scouts, University of St. Thomas Turtle Research Team, the City of Shoreview, the Snail Lake Improvement District, and the Tri-District School Nature Area, receiving awards and honors for his service from these groups. Of course, we must say more about John's admirable dedication to the Wildlife Society. A member since 1980, he has served at the Minnesota North Central Section and national TWS levels. He's a certified wildlife biologist and has served as our Minnesota's chapter historian, archivist, a regional representative, our president, and a liaison to the Midwest Fish and Wildlife Conference. He served as the North Central Section president and North Central representative to the TWS Council and on the TWS Publications Committee and Awards Committee. And in 2020, he received the very prestigious TWS Jim McDonough Award. This recipient goes to the kind of person recognized by his or her fellow workers as a solid contributor and a true professional. Supportive statements from John's nomination were many. Here are just a few. John is a quintessential Renaissance man who is generally competent in and has a keen understanding of many disparate fields, and he applies these complementary skills to the betterment of Minnesota's wildlife and natural resources. John has been promoting public engagement or citizen science before anyone else even called it that. John has a warm and friendly manner about him, yet beneath that exterior flows a deep river of solid commitment to the resource. He protects his colleagues as fiercely as the land he restores. Nothing is necessarily off limits with John when it comes to speaking up for wildlife and making the impossible happen. You have to at least try. He accepts and understands that failure is not a risk, but an opportunity to learn and to do better next time. And finally, here's the last statement. I was taken once by the message on a fortune cookie in a Chinese restaurant. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is the extra. John fully exemplifies that extra. So it is without a doubt that we know John is the complete package of a wildlife professional deserving of this recognition. Please join me in giving John a round of applause. John, congratulations and thank you for all you've done and all you will continue to do for our profession and wildlife.
I am honored and humbled to receive the Minnesota Award from the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society. I thank those of you who contributed in the nomination, especially Jody Provost and Stephen Hogg. Many of the previous Minnesota Award recipients are friends and mentors who I have looked up to for most of my career. Being added to that list is a highlight in my career. It seems hard to believe that I have been involved with the chapter for over 35 years. I've met many good friends and colleagues through my work with the chapter. I plan on continuing my involvement with the chapter, hopefully in person in the near future, for many more years to come. I really enjoyed learning, teaching, and working in some of Minnesota's great habitats with some of Minnesota's great people. Thank you again for this honor.
That concludes our 2020 annual awards presentations. Congratulations again to all of the award recipients. We look forward to seeing you again in person in 2022. Take care. Don't forget to stick around for the funny outtakes. Bye, everyone.
Test, take 2.
Hi there.
Very much red-green vibes.
Yes.
That's fine. It's going to be cheesy. Okay.
This
Ellen,
is
come on in here. Do the.
this is awards part 4. Take 1. Okay, intro. Take 1. Intro, take 3.
Okay, go ahead. One in the bag.
Intro, take 4.
Go ahead.
Awards part 1, take 5. Intro, take 6.
Just wait now.
Take 7. Steve's intro. Steve's intro, take 8.
Of the Wildlife Society's Awards Committee, and I will now guide you through the celebration of our annual. God damn it! No, it's not.
Steve's intro, take 9.
I feel like you're rubbing it in a little bit though.
Segment where we honor those who have passed this past year.
Well done.
How do you feel?
Good.
He said prime it, but whatever.
This is how I feel when I have to record when I finish. Have you ever heard me doing that?
Okay, so we gotta speed
No,
up.
that's a good thing.
We gotta speed up the.
Cut!